Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Home Staging Talk Show Live. I'm Jenny Norris, your host, and the show is brought to you by the International Association of Home Staging Professionals, of which I'm the chairwoman. And I'm excited to be with you today. Home Staging Talk Show Live has this is our 102nd episode, so we've been doing this for a while. And every show we bring you guests that are going to talk about interesting topics related to our industry, success, challenges we might face, business related topics, marketing, etc. So we have all of these archived on homestagingtalk.com. You can go back and watch all of the past episodes, or on our YouTube channel for iHosp YouTube channel. So they're all archived for you there. Got a great show for you today. I've got some great announcements, and then we're going to bring on Orlando Reyes Sr., and he's going to explain who he is. He'll share all of that. And we're going to talk about working with the Hispanic culture. Orlando was one of our speakers for the conference, and unfortunately was not able to do his session with us at that time. And so today we're going to get all the information, and I'm excited to have him share from his expertise. Before we get to that, and I know, Orlando, you're in the studio, so I'll bring you in as soon as I'm done with all of the announcements. I'm going to see if I can play this for everybody. Shrink myself down. Okay, let's see. Here we go. So that is our conference. We're excited that our conference is, tickets are on sale now for our 2021 iHosp Conference and Expo, again in beautiful Denver. So I consider this sort of a reboot. We were supposed to be here live this year in 2020, and of course with COVID, everything was canceled. So we're going to be doing it again. The Gaylord Hotel is just an absolutely beautiful hotel. If you have not taken a look at that, very Colorado, homage to Colorado as far as like a rustic lodge feel. Huge interior ceilings. This window here is 9 stories tall, and it's a reinforced glass with metal, and so it looks directly out at the Rockies, which is really beautiful. So this is the backside of it. They have a lazy river and so forth, and so we're really excited to be able to bring you to headquarters and to our home state here of beautiful Colorado in the fall. Of course, the dates are going to be September 26th, 24th, 25th, and 26th. So 24th, 25th, and 26th here in Denver. So the dates are right up there. And you can go to ihospconexpo.com now and register. You get a VIP priority ticket. What does that mean? Well, you're going to get preferred seating. You have a special registration area, so for the priority people, and then you get preferred seating up front. Any keynote speakers that do meet and greets and so forth, you will be first in line for that. And then also for our special awards dinner, we are doing our theme, the Roaring 2021. It was the Roaring 2020s. We're just going to do Roaring 2021 because it's a fun thing. So we got our Great Gatsby Gala. Costumes are encouraged. And the priority ticket holders are going to have a special VIP speakeasy in the awards area. So it'll be a private area with some special things going on there. And that'll be on Sunday. So our event is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So Sunday evening is our big wrap-up party, awards dinner, gala, costumes encouraged. And I thought it'd be a great way to end our event on a high note with celebration. And in the past, we've done the awards on the second night of the conference. And so this year, we're going to choose to do it on the last night, which I think is a great way to end the event. So June Carter, if you're watching now, I can't see any comments. I think they plugged me into my group. I know 7 people are watching, which is great. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I cannot see, I can't see comments because I think they pulled me in on the group side. No, I'm on the page, which is great. Can't comment to groups and profiles due to Facebook restrictions. Stream to pages. So I am streaming to a page. So hopefully, or if you guys are watching, if you could comment, let me know you see me. That would be awesome. And oops, didn't mean to do that. I went to my page instead of staying here. Okay, so June Carter, if you're watching, she let me know she bought this really cool outfit for the gala, and was hoping we'd keep the same theme. So I love the theme anyway, so it'll be really fun. Oh, Orlando, I know you're here, which is great. Thank you. Okay, so again, tickets are on sale right now for a limited time. The priority tickets, we call them priority because we used the word VIP in the past, and then there were people that thought they were VIPs just because of who they are, but they didn't buy a VIP ticket, and then they were sort of didn't understand why they weren't in the special seating in the line and so forth. And so we changed the word to priority. So there still might be some VIPs that come to our event, but the priority ticket is the one that you want to be purchasing. And now until I believe the end of the year, those will be on sale. And then once that ends, the prices are going to go up and there'll be no more priority tickets available. So don't wait to get your ticket. And there is a 50-50%. You can put 50% down, 50% payment. You can also bring your teams if you saw that in the little promo video. So we have special team pricing available. And of course, you can bring significant others and they can come to the expo on Friday night. We have our big expo with all of our vendor sponsors are going to be there, so they're able to attend that. They can come to any of the keynotes, the big keynote business speaker and so forth. Whether or not we have a celebrity keynote, we haven't figured that out yet. We're working on logistics, and then of course they can come to the awards dinner. So they're welcome to do that, and there's different tickets for the guests depending on what you want them there for with you. So it's going to be a fabulous event. So get excited. It really is truly a celebration, and our conference is unlike any other. You know, we have all the vendors in with us in the ballroom, and so they're not separated out. It's very interactive, very welcoming and inclusive, and of course, there'll be added education. Speakers will be fabulous. Of course, all the keynotes and the topic speakers and so forth are all very qualified to be sharing. And then we always do a designation. So we are working on what designation we will be offering this year because our conferences are always a getaway with a takeaway. So look for information on that. If you guys have any questions, you can reach out to us. And some of our keynotes, of course, I'm going to show you. We'll be welcoming back for 2021 Chris Widener, who's in the middle. He's a best-selling author, top 50 motivational speakers in the world. And that's not just him saying that. He was actually awarded that honor. And he has written 21 books, so he's amazing. His session for 2020 was, of course, virtual. And I know he's amazing live. And so he has so much great information to share, inspiration, motivation. So he'll be there. Johnny Fowler on the right, we call him marketing guru. Social media is his expertise. He runs a large company, a mortgage company, and then does so much business for social media for his own personal business. He has just learned so much over the years and as sharing with us all of his knowledge. And, you know, people shared with us that just these two, and then Ravi was our third keynote, that was worth the price of admission for our conference this year, just to see those two. But then they got another 25 other speakers. So, you know, the value you get for the price you pay is much, much higher than the dollar amount you pay to invest in a conference like this. So very excited to have them with us. And speaking of those two gentlemen, we are doing our advanced stager training. It will be held right now. We are planning on doing it live in Jacksonville. And that will be the weekend of February 13th and 14th. And so I don't think I can put that in the thing. Let me get rid of this one here. Hi. Let me pull this graphic up so you guys can see. So advanced teacher training right now, we are planning on doing it February 13th and 14th in Jacksonville, Florida. So we're working on all the logistics. It's $499. It's for six-figure and above staging business owners. Includes your meals. So it's a Friday, or sorry, I think it's a Friday and Saturday. I have to look at my calendar. It's either Saturday and Sunday or Friday, Saturday. I apologize. I should know the dates. Let me just pull this up really fast. It's a Saturday, Sunday. So again, your meals for you know the both days are included. The dinner on the 13th and the 14th, if you those who choose to stay. And it's more of a workshop, interactive, intensive, if you will. We decide on what topics we want to cover, and then we have different speakers that are sharing on those, plus a lot of interaction between the people that are in the room, sharing ideas and collaborating and just working through a lot of it is logistical issues. People have growth issues. And then when you're with your colleagues who have either gone through what you're going through or are currently in the same boat, you realize you're not the only person who has having challenges. And it's great to be able to talk and collaborate. So that's why we started the advanced stager training sessions, and they usually follow our conference. So in 2021, we will also do an advanced stager training. It will be September 27th and 28th in Denver, and so directly following our conference. So you can register for that as well right now. But this one we're picking up because we were not able to do a live event, and we wanted to make sure to have this training available sooner than later for everybody. And I hid myself. Sorry, guys. We also have so far secured Joanne Lynette Weary and Sandra Reyes for the advanced stager training. So they'll be with us in Florida, as well as Chris and Johnny Fowler will be there too. So Chris and Johnny, as keynotes for 2020 and 2021, agreed to also speak at our advanced stager training, which is really wonderful. So please make sure to check out that event if you're a six-figure and above staging company owner, or you're close to getting there. You're going to be there by February. Register because it's so beneficial. It'll be really, really great. All right. Our conference theme, like you saw in the graphic, is the word soar. And I love the graphic that we came up with. Oops, that's the video. Sorry. You hide. Thought I had the image. Nope. Okay, so the image actually is on this graphic. You can kind of see here this word soar, and I love that they put that's like an eagle flying, and then that's the mountain. So it's very appropriate for Denver and also for our theme. And soar, I put this together, means more than just to fly. When it means to rise swiftly and feel the air slipping beneath you as you ride higher and higher. So if you've seen those birds, they're just seem like they're just sort of gliding along. They're not even flapping their wings, and they're just soaring along. And so it's like effortless because you get to the point where the work that you've put in, previously to that point has led you to the point where now you're just soaring above. And it also is a mindset. So, rising has been a theme since all this year, really, with facing fear. And I've been using this graphic for months. Fear has two meanings: forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. And so soaring has the same thing as rising. It's you're making a choice to lift yourself above your competition, above your mindset, above any challenges you might have, and seek opportunities and rise. That's what SOAR stands for our conference. Seek opportunities and rise, and it becomes effortless. So it also suggests exhilaration and joy, because we want to be passionate and have fun in our business. And then I just put down, let your dreams take flight. So that is our theme for the conference. And reaching new heights of success is our goal with all the speakers that we're going to have. So go ahead and check that out, ihosconexpo.com. I did want to give a plug for our new magazine that we came out, our digital magazine. We'll be doing our next issue, will be released in January. If you have any ideas for topics or things that you'd like to see us cover in our publication, please reach out to me and let me know. It is digital because we have a huge membership. There's no way we could print this and be cost affordable. So it's digital, and that allows you to save it. You can look at it at any time. You can reference back at the articles. You don't have to save paper and get it all crinkled or wonder, what happened to the magazine, if it got thrown out with the papers or what have you. So it's a much better way to deliver this type of a publication for our association. And so I'm excited for the next issue. Catherine Swan has been working with me, and she has an editing background. And so as far as writing and catching grammatical errors and so forth, she is like my eagle eye with that. Sadie Earnhardt is also a great eagle eye. She always catches stuff. And so we need people like that in our businesses. And then she's also helping write content. So I'm excited for the next issue coming out. We'll be again in January. We do have our master's course. The master's course will be taught in January virtually. And then in February, we're going to piggyback along with the advanced stager training. So if that's Saturday, Sunday, the master's course will go probably from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday And Friday, I'm hoping to work something with Joanne Leonard Weary, where she'll talk about color and decorating as an added niche services. So we'll learn a lot there. And then the advanced stage of training follows. So that again will be virtual in January. You can register for that. And then hopefully live in February in Florida. And of course, if the situation isn't better with the virus and so forth and lockdowns, then of course we won't be holding a live event. We'll be responsible. The place that we will hold it will have the ability for social distancing. So we're going to be very mindful of that. I just think it's really important to get together in person when we can. The collaboration, the energy, the synergy that happens when you're with other people in a room at an event and so forth is really fabulous. So I also wanted to share the financial business planning. Some of you have been taking advantage of this complimentary, not free. And I just have to say, stop offering things for free, people who are out there watching. If you have education to offer, it is of value. Stop giving it away for free. Just change the word to complimentary. It's so easy. The value of this is $500, but it is complimentary to our members. And so that's it denotes value. When you say something is complimentary, you can assign a value to it and then still not charge people for it, but it's not free because there's no value in free. People don't, if they get free, they don't think there's anything important about it and they'll blow it off or not assign any kind of value to it. So please, please, please stop giving stuff away for free. And I'm talking to my fellow educators out there. It just upsets me because that actually detracts from our industry. If we give stuff away for free, why would anybody pay for anything anymore, right? So this is complimentary. It is a financial business planning. There's 5 or 6 different sessions. They have been recorded. We will be uploading them to a website, but this is a way for business owners to not live in fear of having to plan financially, whether it's for cash flow for your business expansion. What do I do to pay taxes? What category should I be in? Should I be a sole proprietor, an LLC? What about if I have people who work with me? Are they employees? Are they 1099 independent contractors? How do I structure that? And then, we're all getting older. So what about retirement? When you're in business for yourself, you don't have a pension. You don't necessarily have a 401k that some other companies contributing to because you work for them. You're it. And so you have to take a look at what are you doing to set yourself up for financial success and stability as we get older and then eventually exit the staging industry. What's going to happen? So you need to be thinking about that now and put things in place. And even getting out of debt, that's a whole nother topic that they cover. So there's a lot of really great information in this. And it's brought to us by the Wealth Store. So they're complimentary. They're every Thursday. It wasn't every other Thursday. Every Thursday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And you can find that on the IHOS site. You can go there and then click on the financial, scroll down under education, and you'll be able to find the financial business planning sessions. And if you have any questions on that, there is a form you fill out ahead of time. Just a quick little information capture, and then the people hosting this can get back to you and answer any questions you might have. All right. I guess that is almost all of it. Scroll through my little graphics here. I did want to just give a plug really quickly for our latest designation, which is a senior staging specialist. It's 175. June Carter did a fabulous job teaching this. A lot of people have taken the time to learn about this market segment, and it is one of the fastest growing segments of our population. And so that's right, Yolanda. If they don't pay attention. That's absolutely true. They don't value it, so it's just going back to the whole free thing. So thank you for putting that in there. So the senior staging specialist designation is now webinar based. There is an exam or a test, and it's, I don't know, like 8 questions or something. Is not intensive, but basically all of our designations have a test you have to take along with the course, and it can be done at the same time. It's not like you take the course and then we block it and you have to answer the questions. Just to make sure you're paying attention and you watch the whole thing in order to receive the designation, because otherwise people would just be paying for something and we would have no idea if they actually watched the information and actually were qualified in that topic. So that is being offered now. And then also our cultural diversity expert course is 175. And that is 4 different speakers. We'll be adding additional information to that as we receive it. And that covers the different cultures that we typically work with in our industry. And as from a staging perspective, it's about inclusivity and diversity and somewhat, but it's more about understanding Asian culture, Black culture, East Indian culture, and then a session that Robbie did on um, diversity and inclusivity and how we're more similar than different, and how the world is changing and so forth. And so it was a really great session. And the speakers of the different cultures talked about what we can expect to when we work with them as in staging and real estate. And then also some really great tips. Kevin Tane covered a lot of feng shui things that which would be really important to the Asian culture. And so I learned a lot, and that's the purpose of this designation, is to help us when we're working with these clients, going into their homes, working with them, negotiating, and so forth, to better understand the way they are. And this actually came into play this week with me with a client, owner-occupied home with a Middle Eastern couple, really, really nice. And the wife was really, she was funny because, she kept trying to add things and wanting to negotiate and so forth. And, had I not watched the segment, I might have felt like, well, gosh, why is she trying to work me down? And doesn't she value what I'm doing and so forth? But it's a cultural thing. So they have, they assign value to their dollars, and they want to make sure they're getting the best value for that. And so you do expect to negotiate with some of these different cultures. And so I was better equipped to understand and be prepared for that as well. So that was really helpful. All right. Speaking of which, we're now going to bring in Orlando. It's going to count down for you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Hello. Hi.
Hey, hi Jenny, how are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you.
Likewise, likewise.
Um, so for people who don't know who you are, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell them where you live.
Sure.
Your
So my name
connection
is
might be a
Orlando.
little slow.
Okay, can you hear me well?
I can hear you, but your like video is frozen a little bit. It's buffering or something. But just hopefully it'll work.
Okay. Well, my name is Orlando Reyes. Actually, I was born in the beautiful island of Puerto Rico. In the
Sure.
mid 80s, I moved to Chicago, where I lived the majority of my adult life there. I have two children. For those people that don't know, they're twins and now 26 years of age. In the early 2020s, I moved to beautiful Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I've been in the technology industry, in the airline, um, automotive, and gaming industry. And in 2009, I decided to open my staging company and, follow my passion. And I also own a website and a web design and hosting company. And this is what I do now.
Yes, and I love the web design and hosting, and so we were working on a collaboration on that, and then things happened, personal life for me. So we'll get back on track with that. I'd love to be able to have that offered for members starting in 2021. So you have many hats you've worn, and are your twins identical?
No, they're fraternal. It's a boy and a girl. Yes.
That's great. Yeah, because I always ask, 'cause I'm a twin. My twin sister actually lives in Florida.
Oh,
So if you see me walking around, it's not me, it's my twin,
I thought I'd
because
seen
we
you
are
around.
identical. She's an outdoor, but she wouldn't dress like this. Like she wouldn't have. She's more. My parents would call me the fancy twin, and Julie is her name, the tailored twin. So she was more like she doesn't wear bright lipstick or anything like that. But we are identical. Our voices sound very similar in our mannerisms, and anyhow, it's
Oh
fun.
wow, wow. It is fun. Actually, as a father of twins, it's a lot of work. So well, not anymore, right? Because they're adults now. So they're off my plate in a sense. Um, but yes, let's talk about diversity. Oh my God. What a
Yes,
I mean, this has been such a this whole year has been just totally a shift everywhere, right? And when we talk about
right.
diversity, and I watched Robbie conference or speech, and he's totally right. Although we are different in so many ways, we are the same in so many other factors or sections there. One thing I do want to say about Hispanic that although we do speak the same language, we're different, right? So we have Mexicans, we have Puerto Ricans, we have Venezuelans, we have, people that were actually born in the United States, but and they speak Spanish, or some of them don't speak Spanish. My kids don't speak any Spanish. So I think that there's a misconception when we talk about Latinos and Hispanics. There's differences between those two words or terms
So,
that a lot of people get confused.
yeah. So when you talk about what would Latino, is that Latin America, and then Hispanics would be Mexico. And so kind of define that for us. And even Spanish from Spain, their Spanish is Castilian, so it's more formal from what I learned Mexican Spanish in school.
You're absolutely right. So Spain being the mother, right, of Spanish, as we call it. So anyone living in the Latin America, it's considered a Latino of Spanish speaking language. For example, in Brazil, they speak Portuguese. So they are considered Latinos, but they're not Hispanics because they do not speak Spanish. So this is, some of the difference. And the same thing for people from Spain in Europe. They are Hispanic. They're not Latinos because they do not live in a region of Latin America or country of Latin America. And, it's so much culture within the Hispanic community. Mexicans have a different culture. Puerto Ricans have a different culture. Brazilians have a different culture. From Argentina, Chile, everyone has a different culture, even though we speak the same language and we can understand, other than Brazil, right? Because they speak Portuguese. But
And that's really interesting because, and actually in Brazil, we're actually launching a home staging course being taught to people from Brazil, because Paloma, who runs the HSA UK, she runs the association in England. She's from Brazil, and so we translated the course so that she could teach people in Brazil, because they do speak a different language. And so that's being launched right now. And I was watching, even, I think it's either Argentina or Peru. Who are the people that wear the women wear the little hats when they're married? It's the cultural
I
thing.
think
Is
it's
that
Peru.
Peru?
I think it's Peru.
Peru.
Yes.
Yeah, and so just even the cultural outfits that people wear and just their customs are very different. And my niece she was adopted, and so she's from her birth family is from Southern California, and so she was told her whole life, well, you're Mexican, so you use that term. Is Mexican a separate thing, or is that also Hispanic? You think like, what do they prefer to be called? Is it, some people are afraid to say, oh, Mexicans, they think, oh, that's going to be insulting. Well, she actually preferred to be called Mexican, and now she did her 23andMe, her genetic thing. She's not Mexican at all. She's actually much more Latin American. She's Peruvian. She's like Andes. As you can see, kind of more of the Indian impact in her. She's actually part Italian, she's like 9%
Wow.
Italian, and so it was really interesting for her to get her things done. And she's not Mexican as far as the northern part. I think maybe just like the tip of Mexico. It starts getting into Central America and then South America. That's where she's from.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, we're so mixed in terms of, our culture, in terms of, history. We come from particularly Puerto Rican, and I'm gonna speak for my own race or nationality. Well, actually, see, I'm confused because I'm Puerto Rican, but I'm also a U.S. citizen because Puerto Rico is part of the United States. But it's kind of crazy, right? But our heritage,
Yeah.
come from, many years ago, from, Spain, Africa, and the Indians. In Puerto Rico's, we had Indians, native Indians, and Spanish came in and they just mixed everything. And so in some of the cultures within the Hispanic community happened the same way. Originally we had the Indians, and then everybody started mixing together. But I think what is most important is that people identify with who they are. I, sometimes people get offended if they, sometimes we all generalized, right? If we see someone from, perhaps it's happened to me, I done it, from the Asia, right? And they, we all think they're all Chinese, and really they're not, right? Because they're Korean, there's Japanese, they're so different cultures, but because they look almost the same, and I'm sure the Asian community may think about the same thing about all Americans, or Caucasians or
Right.
all
Well,
Hispanics.
yeah.
They all look alike, right? But in reality, we're all different,
Right.
and I think that's important for us to understand, and just treat everyone with the same respect you want to be treated. I think that's the most
Absolutely.
important thing, right? Don't call them by a nationality. Just don't prejudge. Just we're talking about. You mentioned that when you go into someone's house, right? I want to share some characteristics that you may see when you enter a Hispanic um, house or home that you may work with. I know that we're very warm, friendly. We like to hug and salute. We're very warm. We may shake your hands, or we may give you a hug, or um, we can sometimes be loud. Oh my God, can we be loud? um,
I love it.
or we like to, particularly me, I like to articulate a lot with my hands.
Me too.
Um,
Yep.
yeah. So I mean, those are some of the traits that you may find, and don't find them offensive. I think this is who we really are by nature. We're very festive too. We like to party. Let's bring it on. Um, and some of the other
Yeah.
things,
Woohoo!
yeah. Um, not everybody, but we like to cook, right? So you may, when you walk into someone's house, you may see a messy kitchen, but it's because they like to cook. And we gather a lot, so the more traffic you have in the house, the more dishes you're gonna have in terms of food, right? Because we like to eat. And I think everybody else does, but that's some of those traits that you may encounter when walking into someone's home.
And I think also
Also,
like larger families. I mean, I think that the culture in general, they're very family centric, and so a lot of extended family too. And where
yes,
other, I'm not saying that people in the U.S. or other countries don't do that, but I find that they're much larger families and they do gather a lot. And so you might come in, there might be extended family living in a single family home. You might have a couple different generations living in there, or somebody's caring
that's
for
true.
family members. So we have to accommodate a lot of that versus some of the houses here, 7,000 square foot houses. There's two parents and one kid. I'm like, why do you need such a big house? Three
Right.
people. It's really odd, right?
Yes, yes, and some of the artifacts that you may find in some of our Hispanic community homes are a lot of religious. We're very religious culture, right? So you may find a lot of artifacts, of religion. So you just have to, I think like in any, when we walk into any other, culture or home, we have to be cautious, right? On how to address those things, right? Just
So
remember, like like Indian, they're very religious as well. So you got to be able to kind of know how to deal with that, because that's really personal to us. Um,
So
so
come on,
it's
let's
just,
talk about that for a second. So I know like BP shared that there's usually a prayer room in an East Indian home. Now I don't believe that a Hispanic, Latino, Mexican home would have a prayer room per se, but they do have Catholic faith as usually the predominant religion that Hispanics, Latinos practice. So you might have, you're right, a lot of crosses. You might have pictures of Jesus and stuff. And so
and we
um,
may,
is it?
oftentimes you may find an altar, right?
Oh,
With a
okay.
figure. We offer perhaps, flowers, and we light a candle. But you may find an altar in a house. It could be in the living room, wherever, that person may choose to have that. But you may find that as well, just like in the Indian community, that they have a sacred room or area, right? So you may find that as well as artifacts, crosses, and things like that.
So in working with a client from that culture, would it be, offensive to them to say everything has to be removed? Is it better to say, well, let's remove some of these things, but this, like, let's say they have an altar, maybe we shift it to a different space in the house, or, kind of talk to us about how we should approach that with these clients.
Yes, I would definitely, first of all, I would ask permission. I would like to engage, right? I have when I walk into someone's homes and I'm working, I try to build that rapport first, right? So
Mhm.
you get to know that person. You get to, they get to start opening up. Remember, we're stranger in their house, and so having that conversation and just kind of digging in. The more you ask questions in a very subtle way, they'll come back and they ask you. So the way that I would handle that situation, I would definitely ask. What does it really mean to you? Can we move this somewhere else? And explain the reason why. It's so
Mhm.
important to say, this is the reason why we're doing this. And because, your potential buyers may be offended by that or XYZ, but we have to be, very sensitive about, how to tackle that. And I would say, just, be sensitive about it. We're all humans after all.
Yeah, and
Um,
I love that you said building rapport is so important because we don't want to. I mean, listen, stagers. There's plenty of people who are in our industry that haven't had a foundation of how to deal with the client, and when they watch television, and they learn that use that as a training ground on TV. They're rude on TV. They're very because they only have like a short amount of time to convey this message to the viewing audience, and so they come in and they can come across as very critical and judgy, rude. And so we don't want to come across that way. And so
Not
I
at
love
all.
that you say develop rapport, get to know them, find some commonality, asking the questions. And then when it comes time to share some things they may have to change or remove or what have you, they don't look at you like, they don't bristle because you have established some warmth with them.
Right, right, definitely. And it goes a long way. I mean, not only for the own home, but that'll open another client for you because of a referral and how you treat that
Right.
person and how careful and nurturing you were to them, right? So, here they come. Remember, we're a big family and we have extended families, and you may get a referral from another family member for another family member. So I think being sensitive, I think that just in general, we're all human. We like to be treated, as I mentioned before, the way, with sensitivity and being recognized who we are. We're people. We speak different
And
language, but you're still people.
right. And this is sort of a perception or an observation from somebody who's not from that culture, but you look at like what does the home mean to people from this culture? And so for like other people, it's a status symbol. It's like look how big my house is, look how fancy the things I have, look at the car I drive, and that assigns they take that as like a reflection of who they are. And when I look at the Hispanic, Latino, Mexican culture, I see it more of it's a place that serves a purpose for something within their family. So it's not that they don't like nice things and so forth, but and correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, it doesn't seem like it's like a status symbol as much as it is
It,
a,
it
a
really, it
gathering
really,
place.
yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not about what we have fancy stuff. It's about more family. This is like our castle, right? This is our sanctuary, and this is where we meet with family, and this is where we have our fun, right? This is our protection, our area that we can be us. And oftentimes, for the majority of the population, their home is their castle. So though we may, in their houses, you may find um, walls of different colors that may not match, but this is who they are because we are colorful. If we look at the
Oh,
Mexican
yeah, I love it.
community, they're so colorful, right? And you look Peruvian too, their outfit, they're just their culture outfits is very
All of
colorful.
I mean, you
So
look at all of Latin
go
America, Mexico, Spain, Portugal. I mean, all of the countries of with this Latin, the kind of that flair, the music, and you're right, the colors. It's fun. Like you feel energized when you're in that environment. Versus
Yes,
other countries,
absolutely.
it's much more formal and staid, and you have to kind of watch what you say or whatever, and you don't want to be too loud. But I think I fit in great in that culture because I gesture a lot too.
Yes, so yeah, and we don't live for the fancy card and the status. We just want to be, we just want to work, you know, have food, have fun, and this
Yeah,
is majority of the Hispanics are. Now there are differences on different socioeconomic statuses, right?
Right.
That differentiate some of the behavior of a person. In the Hispanic community as well. Some people are very professional. They've gone, they have doctors and they've gone through university. Some people, they work in the field, but they just work hard. And they're
Literally like in the
humble,
field. Yeah, I mean, there's the work ethic. Um, I find there's people who are like, I'm just, on unemployment here in the US, there's jobs out there. They just don't want to do them. And other people like from the Mexican Hispanic culture, a lot of people immigrate here and I've never heard like, I'm too good to do that kind of a job or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? I think that's ingrained in their the culture is hard work is valued, and then being able to provide for their family and then work their way up to other levels and stuff. And so, it's one of those things where you never want to look down on somebody just because of whatever profession that they're in.
right?
A lot of them, if they've immigrated here, they have worked their butts off and they've been able to provide for their kids, so the kids can have an
Have a
education or
better
a different
life.
type of job, and the parents,
Mhm.
yeah, and the parents may have really had a more of a hardship type job that they did, but they um, their goals for their family and for themselves are the same as like what mine would be, is to be able to provide for the family. And they do,
Mhm.
I love it because they do what they need to do versus saying, I'm just not going to do that because it's beneath me. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right.
I remember,
Which, like, I
I
mean,
went
we're
to Puerto
we're
Rico.
definitely workaholic. Where do you go? Where?
Well, I went to Puerto Rico when I was 14. I went on a performance tour, and when I was in high school, so we were invited to go to Puerto Rico, and then we went to St. John and St. Croix, and we stayed at a place called the La Conventa Inn. So I think it was in an old convent that they turned into a hotel.
Yes,
And
yes,
so,
yes.
yeah, El Convento. And so I remember my twin sister and I, were my parents, we approached them and said, we want to go on this trip, and they said you have to raise half the money. And so I was too young to get a job because I was only 14. McDonald's wouldn't even hire us. So I weeded yards and I cleaned houses. And this was in Southern California in Palos Verdes, which is a very affluent area. And I remember, I'm not too ashamed to go clean someone's toilet. I needed to raise money. But I remember going to this woman's house. She was carpooling me and two other girls from the performance team. And I was going to go clean her house. And this totally snotty girl named Jill, I'll never forget this. She turned, she goes, "You're going to go clean that person's house?" And I said, "Yeah, because not all of us are handed money." And I said, my parents are paying for half and I'm earning the other half. And so that attitude, that snotty attitude and looking down on people, I just think that needs to go away entirely, because people do what they need to do to earn income. And whatever the task is, people need to be able to do. And by the way, I love Puerto Rico. It was so beautiful. And then my daughter has friends, her college roommates are from Puerto Rico. So she spent a Christmas break with there, and it's just so beautiful. And I know they've had a lot of damage from the hurricanes. And,
Yes.
by the way, that hasn't even made any news. I mean, I don't even know what's going on over there with the whole electricity that was out like a year ago. I mean, there's been nothing. So
Yeah, and
just a
from
beautiful country.
up to today, there are part of the country up in the mountains that may still, have no electricity still. But it is what it is. But we're very resilient, so we know how to push forward. And I think any most Latinos are very resilient, like most people are as well. I wanted to share something just because the Latino community, most of us, I gotta say Puerto Ricans are really fortunate because we're U.S. citizens, but most of these other countries, you know, because close proximity to the United States, they come in here illegal, and that status, they're trying to make a living, and provide for their family. So, that status, and trust me, not all Latinos are illegal, people in this country, but just don't look down at them because they still start trying to, these are the people that pick up our garbage, or cut our grasses and harvest our food out in the field. So, they're just humans. And like you said, they want to,
They,
they want to
they,
continue to
they
progress.
yeah, I mean, they contribute a lot to our economy in general all over the country, because without this particular demographic coming in and doing the work that other people refuse to do or think that they're too good to do, you know, because I lived in Northern California. Salinas is a huge, above Santa Cruz. Salinas is a huge agricultural area, and that's where a lot of artichoke to garlic it comes from. Gilroy. I mean, and all the lettuce and stuff like that. It's a huge growing state for a lot of the produce, and so there are people that are needed to do that, and they definitely fill a need. And I agree. I don't think people need to look down on them. I know there's a whole controversy. We want people to come in here legally, and then provide a path for that, which I think that's important. But I think that there's, they call them the dreamers, the ones that were born here, and
Right.
they contribute to, they have great jobs. I mean, they're working on all different facets of our economy, and so it's I don't even know the statistic. I should have looked at it beforehand, but when I think about cultures, you have white, and then we had African American, the population. I don't know what population they are in the U.S., but I don't know if they're more or less than Latinos. Or Hispanic. I don't know. I bet they're probably very similar in numbers in the U.S., but
Yes.
I kind of think that maybe the Hispanic Latino might be more.
Well, we're definitely growing. You know what? There's another term that it's come more often pronounced in the community. Now, a lot of people are shifting to be Afro-Latinos because of our ancestry, right?
What is
We
it
have
called?
a
Afro-Latino?
Afro-Latino, right? Because most of our ancestry, particularly in the Caribbean area, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Haiti, Dominican Republic, most of our culture came from Africa. So, and you have that, mix there.
Well, yeah, and
A lot
my
of
niece
people
actually,
identify themselves as Afro-Latinos.
yeah, my niece actually has Nigerian. She's part Nigerian. She was like something like 5 or 6% showed up from Nigeria. So,
Yeah,
and I was
so
like,
I mean,
wow, it was so interesting.
you know what? And I want to say that when you live in your country, you feel inclusion, because everybody's the same. When you come in the United States, you feel the exclusion. And I want to share kind of an anecdote that I experienced. I was a flight attendant for a while, so I travel abroad, and thank God I did that because number one, it was one of the bucket list I wanted to do and travel the world for free and work and have fun, and I did. So I was able to experience so many cultures in terms of within even the Hispanic community that I was like, okay, so okay, I speak Spanish. I'm going to, Argentina. Okay, but it's a different world, right? And though we're all Hispanic, you learn so much from different cultures. It was an amazing experience. So that, when you leave your country and you come to another country, you find the diversity more so that within your own country. So it's quite interesting.
Yes.
And quite fascinating to be exact. It's amazing. So I had the opportunity to do that and learn, from different cultures. We have different accents, though we speak Spanish. It's like people from the
Yes.
north, and from people from Boston, speak different than New
Rock the
Yorkers, and
car.
people.
We're the car keys.
Yeah, so it's the same thing with the
And
Hispanics.
then you
Though,
have the Midwest. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's fascinating the whole dialect too, like how that'll evolve. Like I was born in California, so I have a Western accent. And when I would teach in the East Coast, and even New York, I mean, it's just how that all evolved. I think it's fascinating. So even within the Hispanic, Latino, Mexican culture, you have the different dialects and ways of pronouncing things, or words that they
yes, yes, and the way we
would
speak is clearly
use,
different. But if you don't know
versus a
Spanish,
couch.
right? So correct. So if you don't know Spanish, you would not know the differences. Um, but I can tell the difference between how a Mexican, a Peruvian, Colombian, Puerto Venezuelan, and there's similarities, but there's a different tone that how we speak. Just pretty much, from the north and the south. People from Georgia speak, or maybe South Carolina. Hey, y'all, what's to see, right?
Right.
um,
Y'all.
y'all, right?
The drawl. Well, and then and so and so I'll share this so that from a cultural perspective, so people that are here, And the not to have so I don't like the word racist because I think that gets over applied. I think people have biases that they either were raised with or somehow developed based on an encounter or something like that. So people have biases, and so I'll just share. My niece we were staging a property, and she and another one of the staging assistants got to the property first, and so she went up to the door to let the homeowners know that the truck would be coming soon, and the guy was like just he was rude to her for no reason outside of the fact I'm gonna say is because she was Mexican and didn't look she wasn't white, and so I don't know if he thought, well, what is this Hispanic person doing in my neighborhood or whatever it is, and that kind of bias, that's the kind of stuff that we need to get rid of. And so Deborah Plowden talked about if you have people on your team who are Black or Hispanic or Latino, Mexican, and I got to figure out a word for this, the overall culture for that, how to protect them from being mistreated and helping them to not feel like they're being singled out. So what would your advice be for somebody who is a staging business owner who has people from this culture on their team, things that they should be mindful of?
Well, I just proceed with caution because you don't know how the other people may react, right? That homeowner. I want to share something that happened to me. We're in this property in Boca Raton, which is a very affluent area. It's a golf course community. And as we walked into the house, I see this lady mopping, right? Short little lady. She's mopping. And I said, oh, hi, how are you? Hispanic lady. And I said, can I speak to the owner? She's like, I'm the owner. And I was like, oh my God, even I do that. And I was like, you know what, Orlando, you need to be more cautious of how you approach people, or how people may approach your employees, right? So you just have to be careful. I think people, you just got to be tactful, if you right? Just protect you and your employees and not to offend anybody, because we can easily cross that line. And trust me, it happened. I thought she was the housekeeper in the house. It was a vacant property, but she was sweet. She was mopping as we were coming in. And I was like, oh my God, I apologize. I truly apologize. I kind of blew up with it, but then I realized, oh my God, you shouldn't do that, Orlando. It happens to us too as employees, right? When you walk in, when you walk into someone's house, it's like, who are you? What do you want? Right?
Right.
It's just having maybe, provide your employees with business cards. I think it's a good way to identify, hey, that you are, you work for this company. A name tag, maybe, with the logo.
T-shirts, a hat.
T-shirt,
Yeah,
hat,
exactly.
anything that identified them to. And it's also a protection, and number one, it's marketing as well, right? So I think that's a good way, because people sometimes, with so many things that are going on in this world right now, they want to be cautious as well. So having an ID to protect them, I think it'll be great. Business card, logo,
Yeah.
T-shirt, hat.
Well, that's a whole nother thing. I didn't even think about that. That you're the only culture that has to deal with the whole green card, are you here legitimately, that there are areas in the country where they're getting targeted, pulled over, you have to leave, that type of thing that can happen. And so that's a really great point, is to make sure that they have whatever they need to identify themselves as they are where they're supposed to be. They're there with permission, they're not here illegally or whatever it is. And so I think that to me is kind of, it's kind of sad that that culture gets targeted for that. And I was kind of thinking about where the big populations of Hispanic cultures are in the U.S. Obviously California, Florida, Arizona, Texas.
Chicago.
I would think
New York is
Chicago.
a lot of, yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of obviously the warmer climate areas, because you guys aren't stupid. That culture likes that warmer climate. I'm trying to think. Denver, we do have Hispanic communities, but it's not. And actually, it is growing. Like Pueblo, the ones that are close, the cities that are closer to New Mexico and Arizona. Denver itself is not. It's getting more diverse. It is not as diverse as other cities, but it's really interesting when you think about that. And so that's actually a really great point to consider for people who have people from this culture on their team, is to make sure that they, aren't going to get targeted, or if they get pulled over for whatever reason, that they have what they're supposed to have if they're driving the truck or there's the stage or whatever it is. And because the other cultures don't have to deal with that.
No, they really don't.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to do that. So just or give them some sort of representation that they're working for you, just for them to
Right.
be safe, and for that client to also feel safe, right? Yeah, I think it's great.
Yes. And so
That's what I would definitely do or recommend.
let's go back to, like, when we're working with the client, we walk in the house, so we might see, a lot of cooking things, obviously some religious things. And so when you're engaging with this culture, if they start speaking Spanish to, let's say it's the husband and wife or something, they start talking to each other in Spanish, is that a good thing that they're chit-chatting, or is that a bad thing? Like, you think, okay, is that, you know what I mean?
Well,
Because they're different cultures that represents different things.
yeah, I would definitely bring someone if you don't know the language and you're dealing with, and when you first have that maybe you're being referred by the realtor, who knows, right? Or maybe they call you directly. If they call you directly, they may have some speak the language, maybe with an accent. You'll be able to pick that up when you're talking to them. And if you're talking to the realtor who made you the referral, I would ask questions. Who is this client? Do they speak the language? And be prepared. If you don't speak, try to find, there's no excuse today. Use your phone and translate it,
Right.
if you're
Right.
not
That's true.
understanding. But to answer your question, that does not mean, like when you're there, that doesn't mean that they're being disrespectful to you. Is that perhaps their partner, the husband, may not understand English, and they have to tell them. They have to have that conversation to kind of understand. It's not an offensive to one particular person, because sometimes I don't speak Spanish, or I don't speak English. You know what I mean? So,
And then also, what about,
it's
are there any nuances, like, yeah, and I agree. I think that don't automatically assume that that you've
they're
said
talking
something or
about you.
done something
No,
wrong.
no.
Right. And what about, so when you come in, like, I know Kevin shared with the Asian culture, you take your shoes off when you come in. East Indian also, and BP shared some of that too. So is that a protocol for the Hispanic, or is that just like like on our house, the only reason I would somebody's ask kids to remove their shoes is because I don't want my carpets to get dirty. It's not really a cultural thing as much as it is just like, I don't want to clean the floors
You know
and
what?
their dirty
I would
shoes. So is there anything like that we have to be aware of?
don't always assume. Ask. If you don't ask, you don't know, right? I
Right.
would say, can I come in? Can I keep my shoes? You never know, because even within our culture, we may have adopted, though the majority of our Hispanics are Catholic, but they may be Muslims, or they have converted to Buddhism, or things like that, that might have switched their customs, right? So it's always good to ask, can I come in? Always ask
Absolutely.
permission.
Yeah.
When you walk, and because we're very protective, and I think the majority of us are as well, walk them. When you walk in, we know we're going to open doors and closets and things like that. Just let them know, please do not be offensive. Because they may be offensive. You open in their private stuff, closets and things like that. Ask permission, or explain what the
Right.
process is going to be. We're here today. This is what you should expect. This is what we're going to be doing. And at the end, if you have any questions about whatever the process is, just explain, because people like to know what's going on. Don't nobody like to be caught by surprise. um,
Right. And I
but
love that,
yeah,
with permission. Asking
he
permission is
said,
so important.
ask permission. Yeah, ask permission, or just let them know what those expectations are, so they know.
But
This is what we're
yeah,
gonna do. Just setting those expectations
up front
ahead of
is,
time.
yes, absolutely. And then in that culture, the mother is, it seems to be like she's the heart of the home. And other cultures, the women are more behind. They're not as prominent in front. The man is. So is that fair to say that in this culture, like, so as a female coming into this cultural type home, I will be I don't have to earn my place with the man, in other words, versus other cultures, if the females are not as, what I'm trying to say, that you
Right,
have to
right,
kind of
right.
establish
They're
yourself, but
right.
not in a rude
Well,
way, but yeah. So that,
well, if it's a Puerto Rican family, the woman is the boss.
I,
No, no, joking. No, all serious. It really depends on, nowadays, we have so much more professionals that, you know, the women's go out to work and the men stay home. So it really depends. You could see the dynamic when you walk
right.
into someone's house. You can see that dynamic.
Hmm.
So I would take the lead, right? Because for some things in the house, the man may take the lead, and for some other things, the woman may take the lead, right?
Right.
Um, I think it's all about the rapport, in my opinion,
Yep.
because everybody's so different. Everybody in their own homes, they have different. You in charge of that. You in charge of that, and everybody's different. I'll say just take it. What you perceive, what you see, just that rapport is gonna lead you to how you're gonna behave with that client. It really is. Maybe when you leave the house, the, the man is the one cooking and everything, but that may not be the case, right? Um, if
Right.
Did I
And
explain
I
that well?
love that, yes. And I think, you know, talking about specific cultures is so important because there, again, people can have biases or assumptions they make. I think establishing rapport, asking questions is really important when you go into someone's house. So, what we learned today is you may walk into a home, it can be, full of people. It might have lots of colors because that's part of their culture. And so, like, if you were talking about painting, for example, you wouldn't just go like, "Oh, these colors have got to go." You would compliment. This is part of your culture. I love all the colors. Buyers coming in wants to see things neutral, so I love explaining the why behind it. And so just to know kind of in advance what you might expect to see in a home owned by somebody from this culture, and being able to address things tactfully in a way that doesn't offend them. However, being able to get the messages across because they want the same result as any seller, to get the most money for the house. So, and
Absolutely. And you know
yeah,
what? What I wanted to say, let's say for example, if you have a crucifix, right? I would approach that. I'm like, how well, like trying to find how much that means to them, right? In a religious way. Because some people are religious. I may have I have a crucifix in top of my door right there. But I'm not. Some people can be very into religion, not necessarily just because they have something like me. I have, but I'm not. I don't go to church every Sunday, But some people are, and that's like, oh, that's like their idol. So you have to be cautious and just ask, what does it mean to you?
well, yeah,
Because
even the quinceañera, that whole part of the culture, you might have, depending what you might see in the house, maybe going in and they have that going on, or pictures. I mean, yeah, I think asking the questions. And just like this is not a cultural thing, but it's a situational thing. When someone has died, like I'm dealing with a widower, and they have a picture of their spouse, normally we say put all personal photos away. But in that case, I'm usually like, let's go ahead and leave this one in the bed. I leave one because I want to be sensitive to the fact that they have that loss, and so you can apply that to faith as well. Maybe they don't have to put every single thing away, but asking them what you just said, how is this meaningful to you? How is this really important? And then finding a way
Mhm.
maybe to work with that versus saying it all has to go.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I experienced that once with a client of mine. We were doing a walk through the house, and she had this big picture of her grandpa, um, and it just didn't go there, right? So, tactfully, I asked, you know, who is that? She's like, oh, that's my grandpa. I'm like, oh, okay. How is he doing? I was like, oh, he passed away. Okay. So, but I'm like, well, that's beautiful. But then at that point, I kind of went into the mode of saying, you know what? I understand this is very valuable to you and very sentimental to you. But when when a prospective client buyer comes into the house, they really don't. care about your, grandpa there. They want to see something, different. So kindly, she took it very well. Some people might be offended by it, right? So, but just asking that question, what does that mean? I really suggest, to protect that. Let's, put it in a safe place, until you make the transition to move over. But it happened to me many times. And I wanted to say something also, or add, in our Hispanic community, and I remember this when I was a child, for some reason, we tend to hang pictures so high in the wall. Oh my God, that drives me nuts. I remember my grandma, Jesus. And then, after you became a stager, you kind of, all, center there,
Right.
eye level. So yeah, we have to be tactful of some things. I wanted to share that because you may find, a picture very high. Now this picture is high because it's a huge, but my mom's that too. For some reason, she hangs her art high, but
Well, yeah. Well, your art, that's a big
that's
canvas, and
how
you
she
can see
lives.
the difference between the couch back and the art top is only like this much. So that looks like it's, that's hung right. But you're right. I have seen artwork hung really high up. And then a lot of like even it could be even cultural things, like it could be like, and Deborah Plottin talked about masks, for the African culture. And so what you might find in the Hispanic, you might find things that are cultural from the different countries. They could be made of, it could be metal. I like when I go travel there, we'll bring back like things we can hang on the walls, like beautiful suns, or they could be ceramic or terracotta, or they could even be metal. So there's a lot of things you might find. And so finding a way to incorporate that, if it makes sense, honors them. However, if it's a ton of that stuff and it becomes a collection, then we have to thin it out, because then it becomes a point of distraction for the buyer.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, any last thoughts? Because I can't believe our time is up. I appreciate everybody else
Oh
who's tuned
wow,
in.
already?
I know it goes by fast. It goes by so fast. Anything else you want to share that we need to know about with working with Hispanic culture, Latino or Mexican?
Just
I mean,
treat
the
them.
culture.
Yeah, well, I think treat them with respect. Call them by their names. Don't call them, that Hispanic. Everybody has a name or last name. Just salute them with their name. Hey, Mr. or Mrs. So and so. Just treat them with respect. That's all.
And I think that goes across the board with anybody from any culture. Eliminate the biases, get to know them, and I kind of circle back to what Robbie did so effectively with music, bringing these cultures together that aren't supposed to get along. I mean, from a political standpoint, or even a history standpoint, that they are of years and years and decades and centuries of fighting, and bringing them together under the commonality of music, and realizing that we definitely have much more in common than differences. However, our differences make life interesting, because wouldn't it be awful if we were all exactly the same, like a bunch of robots, and there was nothing diversity is good, because it makes life interesting. Like, I don't want to go, when I go travel, if I go to Latin America, wherever, I'm excited to see their culture and their colors and so forth. I don't want to experience what I have here. Otherwise, why would I travel? So we don't want to
Right.
lose that part of ourselves that make us unique. However, not to judge people based on negative biases, I think, is the message.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, Jenny, there. Yes.
Well, I appreciate your time. I know how productive you are in your life, and I just wanted to thank you for being on. I'm going to throw this up here in our little stream here, if I can put this in.
Well,
We
definitely
want to say
thank you
happy
for having
Thanksgiving
me.
to everybody. Yeah, so I know tomorrow's
Yes,
Thanksgiving,
yes.
and we are thankful. We're thankful for everybody in our staging community and our association and in our lives. And so everybody have a blessed Thanksgiving, whatever you're doing, and be safe, of course, with all the virus spread. Do what you need to do to protect. But it is a family celebration day, and honoring what we are, our country's history and so forth. And so have a great Thanksgiving. And I'm thankful for you, Orlando, for being on with
Thank
us.
you.
And anybody has questions, he's on Facebook. You can find him if you want to message him and ask any other particulars, because I know he's very, very knowledgeable. And I just really appreciate you being on.
Thank
So
you,
I'll
Jenny.
say,
Be
you
safe.
bet. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye
Thanks for
bye.
tuning in.